Hello, my name is David with Real and Rooted, and today's video is actually going to be a collab with a new sweet friend of mine. Her name is Crystal, and so on my video I'm going to be talking a little bit about plant zones and everything that entails, and then she's going to cover up the rest that I don't cover in her videos, so it's kind of just a little exchange that we're doing for her viewers coming to watch my video, and then some of you guys who watch this, if you want to go watch hers, we would love that. U.S. plant zones, otherwise known as hardiness zones, or growing zones, or plant hardiness zones, all these different names. Maybe you've been at the store before looking at a plant and you see zones 4 through 9 on there. Maybe you just disregarded it and didn't think anything of it, but that is really important information for you for planting in the future and all these sorts of things. The USDA has released a long time ago, and they update it, occasionally, a plant hardiness zone map. And you can use this to determine what kind of plants you can plant in your area. So knowing what kind of zone you are is kind of crucial to making sure you have the best garden possible and making sure that all your plants thrive. Personally, I am a zone 5B, and we will get into that a little bit later. The map is a tool, and it's the standard for gardeners and growers and anyone that wants to plant stuff that is helpful to determine which plants can thrive and survive and do very well for different types of zones. The USDA zones that cover all of the US, including Hawaii and Alaska and Puerto Rico, are divided into now 13 zones. Before, I believe it started with 10 or 11, and then it went up to 12, but now we're at 13 because all the way down in Puerto Rico is super, super hot. So wherever you live in the US, you fall into one of these zones. I, for example, live in the Midwest, and where I am, we are considered a zone 5B. These zones are determined based on the annual minimum winter temperature, so the coldest time of the year. Simply put, this map is used to determine which plants can survive the winters in different areas. So something like a dahlia or a zinnia is considered an annual to us, while down in a zones 11, 12, 13, maybe those are considered perennials and they bloom all year round because they don't have to go through those winters where they can get killed easily by frost, or it gets down, into the negatives anything under 40 degrees, actually, really. While this map is super helpful and it does have the average temperatures, zones, all of them can experience harsher temperatures than it says. That being said, in my zone 5B, it's considered we don't go under -15, but that has definitely happened before. And also on the flip side, last year we got nowhere near that. So that changes, but it's just helpful to know the average, and it helps you plant and pick out the plants that you want for your yard. You might be wondering, how do I know what my plant zone is? And there's so many different ways that you can find out, even just Googling it. But what I like to do when I'm looking for, different areas that I don't already know what the zone is, I like to go to Proven Winners website. You just type in the zip code and then it'll pop up what zone you are. And then if you're searching for plants on their website, you can put in the zones that you're at, or a zone for if you're looking for somewhere else, and then they will only show you plants that can survive and thrive in those areas. So super, super helpful, and I don't know, there's very many little resources like that all over the internet. I will link the Proven Winners one I'm talking about down in the description, and if you don't know your zone, I highly recommend going to find out, because it'll just only help you in the future pick out better plants that can survive for you. Another newer thing that I've recently just learned about are heat zones. So the hardiness zones have to do with the cold temperatures, and the heat zones have to do with the hottest parts of the summer. USDA's hardiness zones do not take into account the summer weather, they only take into account the winter weather. That means that while a particular plant's hardiness zone can survive your winters, that does not necessarily mean that it can survive your summers, like I was saying before. Some things cannot survive the tropical, zones 10 and up kind of situation. Developed by the American Horticultural Society, they have split the country into 12 zones. The map's 12 zones are based on heat days. And what a heat day is when that day receives temperatures that are 86 degrees Fahrenheit or above. The areas with the lower amount of heat days are the lower number zones. So a zone 1 receives about apparently average of only 1 day above 86 a year, while all the way up to zone 12 gets almost 210 days above 86 degrees a year, which I cannot even fathom. If you're looking at a plant and you see 2 different zones listed, the hardiness zone is probably most likely the first one listed, and then the heat zone would be the second one after. So these 2 things are just helpful in selecting things that can both survive your winters and come up for you in the summer, and then survive through that same summer without being scorched by the sun. As I said earlier, I am a zone 5B for hardiness, and then for the heat zones, I am technically considered a zone 6. Generally, as far as heat days, or days that get above 86 degrees, we receive greater than 45 to 60 of them. Kind of a wide range, but every summer is different. So that's just the range that we were given. You might be wondering again, how do I find my heat zone? I will link both the hardiness zones and the heat zones down in the description, but there is a nice helpful PDF that I will link down there. Then you can find your location on the map, see what zone you are, as well as how many days or heat days that you receive a year on average. And then that also plays into the difference between tender and hardy plants. You might have heard the difference between those before, but tender plants are those that are killed by freezing temperatures or, the first frost state, while hardy plants can survive those freezing temperatures and last a little bit longer than the tender plants, at least down to certain temperatures and, depending on the plant. So like I said before, I am a zone 5B. So examples of things that do well and thrive here for us are things like Russian sage, lavender, black-eyed Susans, baptisia, cinquefoils, campanulas, just various things like that. And those do survive in places, zone 3s, 4s, even up to zones 11s, that they just stay alive for longer or shorter periods of time. And then of course, like I said, this is a collab with my friend Crystal, and on her video she will be covering a few more things, such as what is the difference between a zone 5A and 5B, what does the A and the B mean. She's also going to talk about other things that determine a plant's health, such as like when you should plant a plant, the conditions they need, as well as the zones, how she'll be using these different zones to plan for her vegetable garden and when to plant and all those sort of things, as well as what plants survive well for her in a zone 6B. So a little bit different than me, not too crazy different, but a little bit warmer, just a little bit different. So you'll see the differences there. And yeah, so we would love it if you went to see her video as well after you finish watching mine, and go show her some love, because this was fun to do together, first little collab. So hopefully I was able to explain it well enough, or you learned something if you didn't know what plant zones were before, or you were just confused anytime you saw the little zone thing on a plant tag at the store. And hopefully this was helpful with planting for you and maybe learning why some things survive or some things didn't survive for you. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you all next time.